The world's largest pro-Israeli lobby, AIPEC, is gathering in Washington this weekend to put more pressure on Barack Obama over attacking Iran, with the Jewish state intensifying war rhetoric, threatening military action against the Islamic Republic. The U.S. has been accused of being ambiguous on the matter. RT's Gayane Chichakyan reports on the conflicting pressures on Obama from those for and against war.
President Obama's walking on a razor's edge. On one hand, members of his administration keep saying a war with Iran would be a mistake.
Not just the U.S. military, I think all elements of the United States believe an attack on Iran not only would be premature, but crazy.
On the other hand, President Obama keeps saying a war with Iran is still an option and that he is not, quote-unquote, bluffing. The powerful Israeli lobby, which President Obama will be addressing shortly, expects to hear a blunt answer to the question, is the U.S. ready for war with Iran? And will Washington back Israel should it decide to attack first?
The only way to stop the Iranian race to the bomb is to send them a very, very clear message that within a week from the message, the world start bombing them.
Analysts say President Obama's failure to go along with Israeli plans on Iran might hurt him in the elections.
The president carried, the overwhelming majority of the Jewish vote and funding back in 2008. And if he is perceived as an enemy of Netanyahu, an enemy of Israel, or wrong on the issues for most of the community here in this country, it could have an adverse impact on the funding and votes.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech in the U.S. Congress last year was greeted with an ovation. Many U.S. lawmakers slammed the rhetoric of the Obama administration, which suggests that there's still room for diplomacy with Iran.
Many in Israel believe that if we wait too long, we'll be at the point of no return.
It seems to me to be painfully obvious that this administration's policy is not only the same, but that it's failed to achieve the core objective.
But both, those who would back a strike against Iran and those who wouldn't, seem to be tired of the administration's ambiguity.
If we are ambiguous, it could end up very, very badly. We don't need to go to war. And we have to make that very clear to our Israeli friends. We're not going to go to war. They're not going to go to war by flying over our airspace over Iraq. We're not going to support them. If they do it, they will be on their own. The consequences will be theirs, because the price we'll all pay if they start a massive war, which the Iranians interpret as being done with our connivance, will be disastrous for us in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in the terms of oil, stability in the Middle East more generally.
This poster was paid for by the Emergency Committee for Israel. You come across these ads on many bus stops in Washington. The campaign very obviously pushes for a more affirmative response from President Obama on his readiness to go to war with Iran. In the run-up for this year's elections, he might want to cater to the powerful Israeli lobby and make those statements. But to many, it would make a mockery of diplomacy and peace efforts, and President Obama's Nobel Peace Prize as well, for that matter. I'm Gayane Chichakyan reporting from Washington, RT.
Brian Becker from the Answer Coalition says it's Israel and not Iran, which should be considered a major threat in the Middle East.
I don't think Israel's assertions are real at all. I think it's part of a game plan. It's part of a coordinated assault. Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. Israel has hundreds of nuclear weapons. Iran subscribes to the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Its nuclear program is monitored. Israel won't sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel routinely invades its neighbors, as it has over the past 4 decades. Iran has never started a war. So when you look at all of these actual facts, you would say the real menace to the peace in the Middle East is Israel. Iran is not a menace. Iran is being targeted. And I think this is part of the Israeli hype, arrogating to itself the right to strike, as it did in Iraq in 1981 against nuclear facilities, as it did in Syria in 2007, as it would like to do now in Iran. But the United States government is somewhat afraid that if Israel carries out a unilateral strike within the Middle East, this will play out as a paradigm by the Israeli Zionist government against a Middle Eastern country, and on those lines, all of the Middle East will unite against Israel. And so the United States is concerned that Israel might act too promptly in terms of carrying out unilateral military aggression.